Good evening, everybody. Mike and Steve coming to you from our own personal man caves tonight to recap yesterday's Vikings victory against the Green Bay Packers. Obviously, one of the most heated rivalries in all of sport, let alone football. And the game did not disappoint. A tale of two halves. The Vikings jumped out to a significant lead. I believe it was 28 to nothing at the half, and the Packers
Uh, yeah, 28-7 at halftime. Yep.
27. Yeah, correct. I forgot about the Naylor fumble, which led to a late score in the first half. But nonetheless, the Vikings jumped out to a 28 to nothing lead, had a comfortable lead at the half, and once again it was a tale of two halves. The
Yep.
the Packers scored 22 points in the fourth quarter to make a game of it. Fortunately, the Vikings had many turnovers yesterday, including two in the fourth quarter, which helped seal the game. Came down to the end there, a failed onside kick by the Packers, but an exciting game nonetheless. And the Vikings moved to 4-0. The Packers are 2-2. Uh, Sitting atop the NFC North, I know right now the Lions are playing the Seahawks, and I believe it was 21-7 when I was just watching it a minute ago. So remains to
Yeah.
be seen if we're the only remaining undefeated team in the NFC, and either way, we're going to still be in first place. But good game for the Vikings. Probably didn't end the way they would like, but a win's a win. What do you got first tonight, Steve?
Yeah, the win's a win. I mean, we played 3 quarters pretty good football. I mean, like we've been playing all season so far. The defense has been doing good. I think one thing, I was listening to some different analysis today and some different things that people are talking about, because Brian Flores' defense is legit. One thing that people talked about though is that because we forced Green Bay into a hurry up offense, is that then we maybe couldn't get the rotations in. We couldn't get our scheme set up quite the way we wanted to because they were going so fast. And so I think that that may have had to do something with, and that, I think there's a little bit of a natural, much as they didn't want to, they kind of took their foot off the gas a little bit. Giving up 22 points in the fourth quarter is unacceptable. And I think they realized that. So they've got some stuff to go back and clean up. But the rest of the game, though, I mean, it was just Aaron Jones was basically Aaron Jones got everything he wanted except being able to punch it in the end zone. And I think as much as we were all rooting for it and going crazy because we wanted to see that Lambeau leap out of Aaron Jones, um, we kind of forced it a little bit. And I think it was a little bit teletyped. And I think that was the one thing that Green Bay was going to hang their hat on from a defensive standpoint. Because they were talking crap to him at the end of the game. And he's like, look at the scoreboard, look at the points. But overall, I think the offensive line did great. A good clean pocket for most of the time. They had that one corner blitz that ended up in the fumble, but other than that, you look at all these routes that are hitting, especially in the fourth quarter when we needed a drive to be able to seal this. KOC stayed aggressive. In the years past, right, Zimmer would have just punched it into the line over and over again and then expected his defense to hang on. And KOC went out and said, nope, we're going to go get points and throwing it downfield to Jefferson on multiple times. That guy is all world. You want to lean on your playmakers when they're when big moments happen and your big playmakers, and they did. I don't know how this guy keeps getting so wide open. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But I think that as long as our offensive line can hold up and we keep Aaron Jones and Ty Chandler bouncing the edges there, we're going to keep Sam Darnold clean for as much as possible. And this is the winning formula, winning the trenches, clean pocket for Sam Darnold, putting pressure and causing turnovers. That's it. I mean, top 5 scoring offense, top 5 scoring defense right now. I don't know if that's going to be sustainable, but that's where we're at today, 4 weeks in.
Yeah, and you talked about the fumble with the blind side corner blitz. Darnold threw one interception, and I'm still dumbfounded at why that didn't get overturned. It looked like he bobbled it the whole way out. It did not get a knee or 2 feet in, so still dumbfounded by that. But Darnold had an excellent game again. You hit on the 22 points that the defense gave up in the fourth quarter. You and I and a couple other people were watching this here, and I did notice, and I think you pointed it out, that they did look a little gas in the fourth quarter. So I don't know if B-Flow needs to do a little more for substitutions, et cetera. I know Pace was out, but something that they might need to work on, because 22 points, obviously you don't want to give that up. We ended up winning the game still, but that's not always going to be sustainable. And they fortunately Love had the interception, and then we also had the I think Bynum got the fumble that Murphy popped out. Without those two plays, we might have given that game away. So
Yeah. Yeah. Seriously. I think that, Flores did keep trying to dial it up. And I think you're right. I think the speed, the tempo, and the lack of substitution possibilities because of the up tempo that Green Bay was trying to do. Our guys, I mean, the line was looking a little bit gassed when they were trying to go down the field, but they were able to dial up the pressure when they needed it and, cause some errant throws by Jordan Love. And this defense is ball hawking and ball hungry. It's one thing that you always say though is that you can't, kind of like in basketball, right? You live by the three, you die by the three. You live by turnovers, you die by turnovers. So we have to make sure that we can sustain our defense without having to. I mean, getting the turnovers is amazing. We need to keep doing it, but there's going to be games where we're not going to get any takeaways. We're going to be close. We're not going to those bounces, those ricochets we've been getting these first 4 weeks, and a couple of these picks. We're not going to get those later in the season. So we got to really tighten down that defense so that we're not reliant on having to get a pick at the end because some days they're not going to happen. Some days they're going to go through your hands and they get to live another play.
yeah, and we started the season the first three games with 5 sacks each game. Yesterday it was just the one Pat Jones sack, but I think they got enough pressure. Love didn't look comfortable on his feet, and some of his throws were a little errant. And I believe that the defensive pressure still helped account for the 3 interceptions that Love threw. So hopefully against Aaron Rodgers, who's not as nimble as he once was in the pocket, hopefully they can pick that up a little next week when they play the Jets in London.
Yeah, I think so. I think the Jets, from what I've seen, well, I've seen two of parts of the game yesterday, but then I watched the previous game that the Jets had when it was in prime time when Aaron Rodgers came back, and they're not there yet, right? Like against some peer, we're just getting into the season, but the sub 500 teams, yeah, he's good enough to beat them almost on his own, right? He's just too smart, still got a good arm. But when he's playing, better than 500 clubs, teams that'll end up being better than 500 at the end of the season, he doesn't have that. He can't escape with his feet. I mean, he's pushing 40, right? I mean, we all know Father Time's undefeated. So I think that next week the Vikings should be able to handle the Jets. Rodgers is always going to pull out something magic because he's always got that, right? He's a super smart quarterback and he's frustrated us for decades. But the Jets are not put together. I don't think that them flying to London is somehow going to magically make their offense gel. I mean, they have a disagreement between the head coach and Aaron Rodgers right now about their cadence. Nick Sala, their Jets head coach, was talking about their cadence being off and they may need to change some of this. And that's one of Aaron Rodgers' strength, right? He plays with that cadence and really gets defenses to jump, screws with them a little bit, and Aaron Rodgers' response to that was, well, you got to hold people accountable, meaning offensive linemen and stuff. And so they are not gelling. Maybe hearkening back to the days of Brett Favre and Childress with their schism. I don't know. Maybe that's what's going on over there in New York, but it's just not. It's not gelling over there. They're not set up. I watched problems that the Jets had in preseason with getting the receivers and Rodgers on the same page. Like I forgot the name of their big wide receiver there in their number one in New York. What's his name again? Shoot. Anyways, regardless, I don't know how many times I saw this where these guys are trying to figure out how to work together. And we're in the preseason game time, right? And this isn't OTAs, this is preseason game. So that's pretty late in the year for them to be trying to understand, hey, when I'm coming out of this route, I do this. Or when you're coming out of this route, I'm going to put the ball here. It doesn't bode well. I don't foresee the Jets getting, I think they're going to be a 500 club, maybe fighting for a wild card, but I don't see them as much. Hopefully I don't eat my words, but the Jets don't scare me for next week.
Yeah, I know Lazard's leading them in receiving right now. I played with Rodgers at Green Bay, but yeah, I'm not familiar with the rest of their receivers, I know Hall, he's done okay this year, but I think the big thing from the minimal amount I've seen from the Jets is they're moving the ball a little, but they are not punching it into the end zone. I think Rodgers had 225 yards passing yesterday, and what do they have 9 points? I mean, it's yeah, their offense isn't executing, is not getting them points, whether it's touchdowns or field goals. So seems like it'll be a favorable matchup for the Vikings next week. They always, when the Vikings have played in London, they've always had a pretty strong following. The Jets, New York-based team, so could be pretty even mix of fans. But none either way, the fans in London are great. Every game I watch there, they're just so passionate to get the teams there. A lot of people travel and go see those games as well. Only thing sucks is getting up that early on a Sunday morning and cracking a beer at 8:30. Makes for a
Yeah,
long.
I'm gonna be up in the Great North Woods in northern Minnesota, and so well, I'll post some pictures of the last time I was up there where we turned our screen house into a man cave. We brought the TV out and we hooked up our phone to it so we could get reception to watch a Gophers game out in the. So we're sitting out in the middle of the woods in a screen house with generator running in the background, and that was awesome. So we're probably gonna do that Sunday morning, be sitting up there. I'll get some good pics and stuff. It'll be pretty funny. A whole bunch of us dudes will be sitting up there in the middle of the woods, so we'll get some of that. Well, Mike, what's your big three? What do you got for three takeaways today, buddy?
We talked about the 22 points in the fourth quarter. It could have been worse if not for the two turnovers, but like we talked about, I think Flores probably needs to do a little bit more in the way of substitution for some of those guys. Harrison Smith, he seemed like he had an off game, took some bad angles, was getting beat on a few plays. Bynum had a couple of key plays, but the safety play didn't seem that great towards the end of the game. I talked about the pressure, only one sack, but I think some of the pressure did assist in the turnovers. But 22 points is alarming. They definitely want to clean that up. That was a game that sadly they almost gave away, and I think all of us that were watching it here, we were getting a little nervous because 40 plus years of watching the Vikings, you know what they're capable of doing. Second hitter for me is Jordan Addison. It was great to see him back. He made an impact right away. He had 72 yards receiving and 3 or 4 receptions, and he also had a 7-yard run, so gave him 79 yards of offense. Obviously, his presence helped open things up for Jefferson. Jefferson had a big fourth quarter after kind of a second and third quarter. I'm not going to say he fell off the radar. I think Jones was rushing the ball well, and they were hitting other people. Naylor's been contributing this year. Hawkinson, hopefully he's coming back soon. That'll even open that offense up more. But it was good to see Jones get 20 plus carries. Chandler only had a few and really get the offense going. But I think Jordan Addison, let's be honest, in the 2 years he's been in the league, he much like Aaron Rodgers owns the Bears, Jordan Addison kind of owns the Packers. And it would have been
Definitely.
nice to see him, Zaire Alexander, get burnt as well, but he opted not to play. Big shocker there. And the last takeaway for me is just the turnovers. We won the turnover battle. We had 3 turnovers. It was 4-3, and I believe KOC is now 21-0 when they win the turnover battle. His teams, so it's huge. And I know Naylor muffed the punt at the end of the first half, which outside of that, it was. I don't think the Vikings could have played any better. I mean, it was one of the most entertaining halves of Viking football I've ever watched. So, but the interceptions, the fumble recovery. I mean, Byron Murphy, got the interception and punched the ball out in the fourth quarter. It was huge. And Griffin, it's good to see our defensive backs, ball hawking, our linebackers tipping balls. So once again, the turnover battle's been huge, and I think it's a big reason for the Vikings' success in being 4-0 this year. So, Steve, who is your bad MFer of the game?
Yeah, there was a lot of opportunities for bad MFers yesterday. I mean, when you start off 28-0, the offensive line looked good, right? They gave a lot of clean pockets, and Sam Darnold really didn't have to move. He had, even when he ran, he had great big lanes. Sam Darnold, once again, throwing for multiple touchdowns, staying nice and cool in the pocket. Like you said, that interception wasn't an interception. He bobbled it. He didn't get possession until his elbow was out of bounds. That shouldn't have, it's kind of junk. It was an underthrown ball, but still. And then the defense, once again, you've got so many people. Blake Cashman looked good. He was getting in there. Patrick Jones got another sack, like you said, so he could have been A lot of candidates, but I'm going with B Murphy Jr., Brandon Murphy Jr. He got burnt a little bit. They picked on him a little bit, but he really redeemed himself. He got the one interception. He got really what his play in the fourth quarter with that pick and then that huge punch up. I mean, that was a beautiful, just full on fist right down. If he didn't get that ball, that guy was going to lose his solar plexus. That craft, that tight end. That's all he would have punched right. It would have been like something from like Street Fighter, be like Hadouken. He was coming right through him and he punched that ball out, and that was huge. I mean, those two big plays right there. Yeah, he gave up yards, and no doubt about it. He got picked on a little bit, but that guy came up big. Two pass defense. He had 7 tackles as well, so it's not like he wasn't active. Backing up on run support and stuff like that. So I think it was good. And then again, the big pick, the big forced fumble. Those really when we needed to come through with something. Murphy Jr. came through and got it. So he's my bad MFer of the game. Hopefully he tightens up a little bit better on the pass coverage and gets a little bit stickier. But those that out of everything, the way that game shaped out and developed when you're bleeding points that bad, getting 2 big stops like that was massive. So
No doubt.
Brandon Murphy Jr. Gets the bad MFer from ManCave for this week 4 game.
Sounds good. So Vikings play the Jets next Sunday, London at 8:30 a.m. We will definitely be back next week. For our viewers, like, follow, subscribe, and know that we should be doing our Timberwolves, our much anticipated Timberwolves preview on Wednesday night, along with some of the other guys in the Man Cave. Get ready for this one because, as you know, as our own Brett discussed the other day, the big shakeup with the Cat trade. I know today was media day. I saw some of the highlights of both the Timberwolves and the Knicks. So there's going to be a lot of good stuff coming out on Wednesday as we preview a season for the Timberwolves that is shaping up a little differently than what we anticipated.
Yeah, definitely. It kind of plays with your mental schema for like when we talked with the boys a couple weeks ago, thinking about getting into the preview, and then now Cat's gone, and you got DiVincenzo and Randall. Is Randall going to be here? Is he going to be part of a package with another team? Is that now? Is it for the trade? There's a whole lot for us to cover. I'll probably do another quick hitter tomorrow night after the Lynx game 2. They got to win this one. You don't want to go down 0-2. It's a best of 5 series. So if they go down 0-2, then they gotta run 3 off the board. That means taking 2 out in Connecticut. So hopefully Nafisa and the girls can get that done.
No
Thursday I'll probably have something else going on. We got a cool guest coming up, something a little bit different for us. We're just gotta finish locking that down. But lots more content coming out. Like, share, subscribe. Check us out. ManCave Sports, Barry Lyathan, Walter of the North. Check us all out, and we'll talk to you guys later.
All right. Thank you, my friend. We'll talk to you soon.
Sounds good, buddy. Well.